Rev up your engines!
Now, Consumer Reports says that Toyota is no longer the most reliable brand, but instead it's Subaru. Now, I gotta admit, Toyota's, some of their quality's gone down. They had to recall 100,000 engines. They've had some transmission problems in the Tacomas. As per usual, the guys at Consumer Reports don't know what they speak of if they say Subaru is number one. Let me tell you, Subarus are cheaper made. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you know anything about their engines, boxer engines, right? They're either 2 on each side or 3 on each side when they're 6-cylinder boxers. The 4-cylinder ones, for ages, they use air-dried silicone RTV glue. The gaskets can last hundreds of thousands of miles. The glue, the RTV silicone stuff that's air-dried, this isn't cured anything except through air. Then they leak when the Subarus get older. Then you got to take the engine out, take them apart, replace the gaskets, spend a bunch of money when you didn't have to. And you might think, well, why did Subaru use glue? Because it's cheaper. Instead of having piles of gaskets when they build them and put in the gaskets, they just have a glue gun, bolted on, bolted on. All they need is glue guns with glue. And it's cheaper. And it's faster. And that's why they do it. And it's a crappier way to build things. So if they think these things are more reliable in the long run, they don't know. These consumer things are too much for me. They're not mechanics like me. They don't work on the things. They don't know what happens over time. I love awards that companies like that give out. They say, best in initial quality. What does initial quality mean? The first 10 seconds you own the car, right? And in this case, I won't listen to them because Subaru quality isn't that good. They have many problems and they make them a lot cheaper. They are some extent better than they used to be. Their transmissions are definitely a lot better than they used to be in the Subarus because they used to be garbage. But rating them as number one, nah, I don't agree with it. Well, Hyundai's at it again with their lack of quality. Hyundai just recalled over 226,000 vehicles because they can have damaged circuit boards in them. Great quality there, Hyundai. Now, this includes 2021 and 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe hybrid crossovers, Elantra hybrid sedans, and 2022 Hyundai Santa Fe plug-in hybrids and non-hybrid versions of the Santa Fe and Elantra. These vehicles are either brand new or just a couple years old, and the circuit boards are shorting out. You know what that says? Poor quality control, which Hyundai and Kia, they're kind of a sister companies, they've had it forever. They just don't have the quality control. They can advertise all they want about how great their vehicles are, but their quality control is not all that good. And now they got to recall 226,000 more of them. Do as I say. Don't buy things I warn you not to buy. Then you won't be in a pickle like these 226,000 people are. Because you wouldn't own one. Well, I guess Honda's quality has been going downhill for a while now. 200,000 Honda Pilot and Passport SUVs are recalled for a fuel leak issue. Turns out they might not have made the gas tank filler assembly correctly, so fuel can leak out of them, especially if you get in a wreck. The whole thing about a fuel tank is, in the racing world, they call them fuel cells because they're supposed to contain the fuel. Well, in a wreck with a race car with a good fuel cell, they don't leak. They're made so they don't leak. Regular cars aren't made that well, but the systems are supposed to be sealed, right? And in the case of these, you get in a wreck, the gas can come squirting out, and then woof. This is 2023 to 24 Honda Passports and 2023 to 25 Pilots. They can have fuel leaking out of them. You know, they used to make things they didn't leak fuel. I've got cars that are 30 years old. They've never leaked fuel. These things are brand new. And now they say, gee, we might not have built them right, and fuel might come leaking out of the back. Honda describes the problem as, quote, lack of fuel system integrity. No, it's not leaking gasoline. It has a lack of fuel system integrity. Well, you know, it just shows that the quality of a lot of these companies has been going down for quite some time. They didn't used to have problems like this, but now they are. I guess they're just trying to streamline too much, and they're screwing up when they build them or when they design them. Now, Honda says that in a month or so, people will get notices, and they'll fix it free of charge. Who knows what the fix is? Honda isn't even saying what the fix is. Maybe they'll put a bigger clamp on. I don't know. They're not even telling us now. At least before, they used to tell us, here's what the problem is. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. Now, oh, yeah, don't worry. We'll fix it. Well, hey, I'd like to know what the fix is, please. Well, there's now 9 Volkswagen factories in Germany on strike as their labor battle escalates. See, for like 80 years or something, the Germans had a deal where they weren't going to shut factories down. They weren't going to lay anybody off. But guess what? Volkswagen is in deep doo-doo because They're having problems selling their cars. They put too much money into electric cars that really, one, aren't selling that well, and two, aren't built that well. The ones that they are selling have had problems. So they jumped into this electric car thing too much. And of course, Volkswagen's kind of a weird company. They own a bunch of companies that never have made much profit. Here's who Volkswagen owns. It's all part of Volkswagen, right? Audi, Bentley, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bugatti, Skoda, Seat, Ducati, Scania, and MAN Trucks and Buses. They own a lot of companies that don't make that much money. They are a typical example of a corporation that they got so big, they're the elephant in the room, and they make a lot of bad decisions that we can buy this, we can buy that, we can buy this. And now they may have bought all these companies, but people are not buying their cars like they used to. And they're having to shut down factories, lay off workers. Now the workers are on strike. I find it amusing because if you think about it, the workers are all on strike not working because they can't sell cars that they're not going to build. So maybe they'll just stay out of work and the whole thing will go. Nobody's touched in reality anymore. People have very little founding in reality. They're like, we want more money for us. Well, wait a second. You're making a product that people don't want to buy. Whoop. Well, the Germans are all on strike. Now, we'll see what happens. Maybe Volkswagen will wise up and get rid of a bunch of those crappy brands that people don't want. Hey, Audi sales, they're way down. One guy wrote an article the other day, and I agree with him entirely. He said, why would you buy an Audi? It used to be they were cutting edge. They aren't anymore. They don't particularly have a flair that people want. And anybody who ever's owned an Audi knows they're endless money pits to fix when they break. So, no surprise that they're having problems selling their stuff at Volkswagen. Well, more bad news for electric vehicles. Lion Electric, who opened a massive electronic vehicle manufacturing plant in southwest Joliet, Indiana, is suspending operations and laying off 400 employees. Hey, as I say, if people aren't buying these things, they can't keep making them. Interestingly enough, Lion is based in Quebec. It's a Canadian-based company. It's a plant in Indiana that they're closing down. Now, when they opened this factory in July 2023, they said they're going to produce 20,000 vehicles, electric buses, electric trucks. Well, guess what? That didn't happen. Now they're shutting it down for a while because they can't sell the things. I've done a lot of research on these electric trucks and buses, let me tell you. Cities that have bought these electric buses, a lot of them stopped them, and then they went back to normal buses because they said they break down too much, nobody can fix them. They don't work in really cold weather. Duh. Batteries don't like the cold, right? All this fancifulness about we're going to have battery electric vehicles, especially something like this, electric buses and trucks. They're big, they're huge, they weigh a lot. Batteries aren't good for that. They're good for smaller things. Maybe we could all ride around little electric cars in town. Hey, wouldn't be anything wrong with that, right? Don't need to go that far. They don't need to weigh that much, so they don't need to chase the tail of the dragon, where the faster you go, the bigger you are, the more you weigh, the bigger the battery, but then the battery weighs more, so you got to get a bigger battery. It goes on endlessly. With small vehicles, they don't have that problem. Well, here goes Lion Electric making electric buses. Now they're not making them for a while. Well, I couldn't help but laugh. Watch a football game the other day. They had the ad for those new GM Hummers. And the crab walk. Look, they're doing the crab walk. Okay, the crab walk means that the front and the rear wheels can both turn so they can go like this, back and forth, right? Like it's some kind of radical thing. Now, if you don't know that much about cars, ages ago, Honda did it. They called it four-wheel steering. And you know what happened? They broke and cost a fortune to fix later on. Now, this was Honda, a company that has pretty good quality control. GM is not known for that. So I can imagine that these things are all going to break within a certain period of time. But I thought, okay, crab walk, interesting. Here they're advertising it to the average American during a football game. But then I look up at the price. The list price of one around here was $150,000. Okay, how many Americans have 150,000 clams to shell out for an electric Hummer that does the crab walk? Well, we'll see what happens. Now, if you don't know the history of it, the original Hummer, guy did a study years ago, and he said it turned out that GM probably lost about $100,000 for every Hummer that they actually sold. Originally, they were military vehicles. Arnold Schwarzenegger saw one and said, I want one of those. And so they started making them, and they lost a lot of money building them. And finally, they had to stop making them when GM went bankrupt and the feds gave money to keep them out of bankruptcy, all our taxpayer dollars. One of the caveats of bankrolling GM by the government was you got to clean things up, get rid of stuff that doesn't make money. Guess what? That's when they stopped making the Hummers. They shut the factory down in Shreveport, Louisiana, and stopped making them. So I don't predict good things for this new electric Hummer, especially at 150,000 clams apiece. Well, Steve Thomas sent me a nice email telling you about Ford lack of quality. He says, Scotty, this is a brand new 2023 Ford F-150 with less than 6,000 miles. Purchased new in April of 2024. It caught fire in September when I went home for lunch. This is not an electric vehicle. It is a 5-liter V8, and it was not intentional. The truck self-combusted, something in the dash shorted out, and it burnt down. He also sent a video showing the thing burning down. The quality just isn't there. Ford has led in recalls the last 3 years in a row, and it'll probably be the 4th year for 2024 when it finally ends, because they don't seem to be making it any better. Perhaps the head of Ford, Mr. Farley, should resign, just like Tavares, the head of Stellantis, just did resign. They need some changes in that company. Let me tell you, they really do. Can you imagine you got a brand new truck that's got, a few thousand miles on it, it burns down in your driveway? Luckily, the guy didn't have a garage, so it wasn't in a garage and burned the garage down. It just burnt the truck down out in the driveway. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.